In this video for section P4, we're going to start by reviewing some vocabulary about polynomials. A polynomial is a single term or the sum of two or more terms, containing variables with whole number exponents. Whole number exponents means that you can't have negative exponents and you can't have fraction exponents or roots. So we have some other definitions here. Monomial means that it has one term. Binomial means that it has two terms, and trinomial means that it has three terms. Terms are always separated by plus and minus signs. So for this trinomial, 3x squared is one term, 2x is another term, and 6 is another term. And there are either a plus sign or a minus sign in between. If there are more than three terms, it doesn't have a special name, and we just call it a polynomial. The coefficient is the number in front of the term, or the number that is multiplied by the variable. So for example, 7x to the fifth, 7 would be the coefficient. The degree of a polynomial is the greatest exponent of all the terms in the polynomial. So I look at the variable and I find what the greatest power is on that variable. So for this example, the 5 is the greatest power, so 5 is the degree. The degree is always just a number. The leading term is the term that has the greatest exponent. So for the same example, the leading term would be 7x to the fifth. So the leading term is the whole term, the degree is just the power itself that's the greatest power. And then the leading coefficient is the coefficient of the term that has the greatest exponent. So for this same example, 7x to the fifth, 5 is the greatest exponent and the number in front there is 7, so 7 would be the leading coefficient. Next, we're going to talk about adding and subtracting polynomials. We add and subtract polynomials by combining like terms. So they're usually grouped by parentheses, but the parentheses are just grouping them together. Everything here is just added and subtracted. And so when we combine like terms, we make sure that we're combining things when they have the same variables and the same exponents, as we talked about earlier. So 13x to the third and negative 9x to the third, those would be combined, and I'm adding them together here. One thing that I like to do is add things vertically by writing the terms of the second group underneath the terms of the first group, and then I can just add the columns. So 13x to the third is added to negative 9x to the third. 2x squared, I would add that to 7x squared. I have minus 8x here, and then I have minus 6. It's kind of hard to write small enough, but normally you can kind of see what's supposed to go together here. So then I'm going to add negative 9 plus 13 is 4. So that's 4x to the third. 7 plus 2 is 9. So we have 9x squared. Negative 5 plus negative 8 is negative 13. And 3 minus 6 would be minus 3. So this is one way you could do it. You can also just rewrite both of them if you want to do that. That way you don't have to worry quite as much about the spacing. So next we're going to do part B here on the second page. Part B is a subtraction problem, which is a little bit trickier because you have to remember to subtract everything in the second set of parentheses. Or another way to think of it is that you need to sort of distribute this minus sign onto all four of these terms. And it's kind of hard to remember once you get to these terms out here that they're actually supposed to be subtracted. So for this one, I'm going to, I'll rewrite my first term here just to show it in a slightly different way. Then this is minus 2x to the third minus negative 6x squared is going to become plus 6x squared. Minus negative 3x is going to become plus 3x. And then I have minus 9. So the hardest part about these generally is just getting that sign right if it's a subtraction problem. So now I can go through and do each column. 5x to the third minus 2x squared plus 12x and minus 15. So next you should try the problems in checkpoint 1. Do these in your notes, check your answer, and then move on with the rest of the video. Next, we're going to talk about multiplying, specifically multiplying binomials, and using the FOIL method to do that. So the FOIL method stands for first, outside, inside, last. So F, you multiply the two first terms of the binomials. Remember, binomial means it has two terms. So we have two things here with two terms, two binomials. F means you take the product of the first terms in the binomial. Outside is the outside terms, inside is the inside terms, last is the last terms. And then you add all those together, that gives you your product. So, looking at example 3, we have 3x times 5x. For first, that's 15x squared. Remember, x times x is x squared. For outside, 3x times negative 3. If there's a negative sign, you have to remember that. So that's minus 9x. Inside is plus 20x. So that's O and I. And then last is 4 times negative 3, which is minus 12. And then often when you're doing FOIL, you're going to have some terms that are going to combine. A lot of times it's going to be the middle two. So in this case, negative 9x plus 20x, I can simplify that. That's going to give me plus 11x. And then I have 15x squared and minus 12. Those don't change. So this is my answer. So next you should try checkpoint problem number 3. Do this in your notes, check your answer, and then move on. Next, we're going to look at example 4, and the book shows some different special formulas for some of these. I would recommend just doing all of the problems using FOIL. That way you don't have to try to remember special formulas. FOIL will always work and give you the right answer. So that's the way that I'm going to show this in the video. If you want to do it the way the book shows, that's fine as well. So for this one, I'm going to start with the firsts. That's going to give me 16y squared. Outside is going to be minus 12y. Inside is going to be plus 12y. And then we have last, 3 times negative 3 is going to be minus 9. Now, something weird happens here when we go to combine like terms. Negative 12y and plus 12y, those cancel out. And so I don't have a middle term, I just have 16y squared minus 9. So you should try to do checkpoint problem number 4. Do this in your notes, check your answer, and then move on with the video. The last one we're going to look at is example 6 from the book. It says to multiply x minus 4 squared. Now, the key thing here is what you can't do is you can't just say that it's x squared minus 16. You can't just square both terms in the parentheses and have that come out to be the right answer. So I'm going to erase that. What you need to do is remember that when you're squaring something, that means that you're multiplying it by itself. So x minus 4 squared is equal to x minus 4 times x minus 4. Now I'm going to use FOIL on this. So I have my first is x times x, that's x squared. Outside, minus 4x, and inside is also minus 4x. And my last term is negative 4 times negative 4, which is positive 16. Then I combine the two terms in the middle. Negative 4x minus 4x is negative 8x. So we have x squared minus 8x plus 16. So next you should do checkpoint problem number 6. Do this in your notes and check your answer, and that is the end of this video.